Hello, everyone, and welcome to our third session of our Hometown Social Town Hall. We're focusing on internet marketing and e-commerce today, like we have the past couple weeks. That's probably going to continue over the next little foreseeable future. My name is Justin. I am a founder of Hometown Social, along with my sister, Katie. I focus on internet marketing as a whole. We do Google ads, Facebook ads, content plans, and website optimizations. So that's what I do. Katie, if you want to give an overview of what you do.
Hey guys, yeah, I manage Amazon selling accounts, Walmart selling accounts, and I get really into the details to help e-commerce sellers grow their business and their online presence.
Yeah. And we're Hometown Social. We are a creative boutique firm that is positioning why you exist in front of those you exist to serve. And we try to do that in the most efficient and creative way possible. So today we're going to start off with our Fast Five. And I know, Katie, you had gone ahead and talked a little bit about it. So if you wanted to start with your Fast Five today first.
Yeah, we like to start the segments off with the fast five, just kind of whatever we're really paying attention to during the week or whatever we find is top of mind and top of importance to kind of share some feedback, tips and tricks, vent, whatever we need to do. So my fast five this week is revolving around client and team management. So I'll kind of tiptoe back and forth between either client management or team management tips. So the first one on my list is about client management. Consulting is advising. It's not just teaching and explaining. So sometimes I feel like I tend to teach a lot while I'm giving recommendations. And sometimes this can actually have the opposite effect. It's not really beneficial. Sometimes you get into the weeds too much or into too many details. I need to remind myself at times that my job is really to advise and to give clear direction, or to just go ahead and act upon whatever it is that I'm advising the client does. So, at times less is more with communication in this area. So I have to remember, as a consultant, it's my job to consult more so than to teach and oversaturate with words at times. My second piece is about team management. First and foremost, I kind of just wrote down formality and professionalism is important even in internal meetings. So, be on time, come prepared. Even if it's a short meeting, just make a little bit of an agenda so you can stay on track. You can respect each other's times. If you have links that are planning on screen sharing, or if you have specific notes to mention, figures, whatever those might be, definitely have those prepared. Even if you take 5 to 10 minutes before your meeting to get everything together, it just kind of really helps keep things organized, and it's just another way you can show up for yourself and for your team. Fast five number 3, I say set realistic expectations, not only for your clients and your team members, but also for yourself. So I'm definitely an overachiever. I think Justin and I definitely share that quality, but it's really important, for overall efficiency and for satisfaction of your team members and your clients, to set realistic expectations. Be really careful about saying, I'll get this over to you by the end of the day, or something of a really short time frame, just because you're not always guaranteed to have a worry-free day, especially working with Amazon and Walmart sellers. Anything can happen. Listings can be taken down, accounts can be deactivated, all kinds of things. Miscommunications on Amazon's parts can lead to a totally different day than you once had planned. So just be careful about setting realistic expectations. Make sure you've provided enough time. That'll increase satisfaction, but it'll also give you a lot less stressful environment. And then number 4, I say to be direct. Again, less is more with communication. So in this case, I'm talking about team management. If you're signing out a task or making a request for graphics or copy, for example, just be direct. I think that using too many descriptive words and things can be really confusing to other team members. So think of what task and desired outcome is at hand, and only put the most necessary information there. If they've got clarifying questions, make sure they know that they can come and ask, but definitely just put the basics down. and get, a little less wordy. I think it's better for overall performance and clarity of thought. And then the final piece, this is for client and team management. In my personal opinion, I think that recap emails are king. These can be really short. They don't have to be lengthy, but they're great for, if a team member or a client has missed a meeting, they've got a little bit of an idea of what was covered in the meeting, but then it gives clear to-dos post meeting, and it also gives you a jumping point to start off on your next meeting to recap, whatever those action items were. Did we get them finished? Do we have deliverables? And where to go from there. So that was my Fast Five for client and team management this week. Justin, do you want to dive into your Fast Five?
Yeah. So this week we've been working on a lot of content, and this has kind of gotten me focused on the tools that you have, and the ability to perform always comes down to the tools you have in your tool belt and how much experience you have with them. So I wanted to take a minute and talk about the 5 tools that I use. There's actually more, way more. That's one of the things that we're auditing and making sure that we're not spending too much on tools that we're not using to the best of our abilities. So the first tool I put in is Adobe Creative Cloud, including the stock images. Canva is a great tool, and that's the one I suggest that you use if you're going to do editing, mostly because they have lots of templates, lots of icons and shapes, lines. You can really customize all of it, and it's super intuitive. I struggle with Photoshop and a handful of the other tools that come along with Adobe. I've gotten better at them, but the main reason that I really like Adobe is for the stock images and videos that I've been able to pull and use, and the templates that they have for social media. So Canva, Adobe Cloud, some form of creative platform that you can use to manipulate what you're making. The other one I put here is Sprout Social. So you need to have some sort of scheduler. We just went and sat down and put the next 2 months worth of YouTube videos and content into our scheduler. It took us a little bit of time to make sure we check everything off and it looks the way we want it to look, and then we can let it go. We're also able to track campaigns and tag specifically the metrics or the campaigns, the posts, the style of posts, the creative that we want, so we can look back and check and see where we're at and how things are performing. Canva also has an easy tool. Anything that's API friendly with Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, whatever platforms you're going to be on. LinkedIn is the one that is not as open as the others, so you want to be sure that the tool that you're using works well with LinkedIn. Next one is Ahrefs, or some form of SEO tool that allows you to look at the content that people are posting online for SEO, blogs, etc. Ahrefs allows you to look at YouTube content. So a tool that allows you to look at what people are putting online, what's getting traffic, what terms in your industry or niche are really driving content to the site. And so that way you can see how you might attack topical relevance and what angles you might be able to create easy content from. Taking the data from Ahrefs, there's a handful of tools that focus on writing and creating content. There's multiple ones that have come out recently for AI generated content. I've had some success with a handful of them. Right now, I've kind of packaged the group together that I really like. So I'm using Phrase, Frase, and I pair that with Grammarly and Hemingway app, which allows me to make sure that what's being generated can, after I tailor it and make it sound more like me or my clients, then I go into Grammarly, I check, make sure everything makes sense there, and then I go into Hemingway to make sure that it actually is readable, and then the mix of all of that again to check and improve. The last tool in there is Rytr, Rytr. That's another AI content generator that I've had success with in short bullets. So like 2 to 3 sentences. That's been really, really good tool. And the last one's a CRM. You got to have something that you either track your projects with or keep all of the information of your clients and set automations for emails and tagging to throw into your Facebook lists and to exclude from your lists, and make sure that you're keeping track of all the information that you need for your clients through your funnel. So making sure that you have what you need to edit what you're going to post, you have the ability to schedule it, you have the ability to do research, and then you have the ability to leverage tools to do things for you and automations. That's my fast five.
I do want to make one comment. I think it's funny to hear creatives and hear e-commerce consultants talk about tools, because sometimes it feels like, okay, well, if we have all these tools accessible to us, then, why do we need you guys? But just for the simple fact that Justin started by saying these are 5 of the 17 million different tools that are out there, that's probably a big portion why. We've got the expertise and the experience to know what tools would serve you and serve our customers best, and then how to use them, and then also the time to implement them. So it definitely takes a little bit of expertise and experience in the field to know how to use these the right way.
Yeah, and you want to make sure that you can tie everything in together. It doesn't take much code to understand how that works. If I can do it, then most of the business owners can do it as well. But the time to understand what fields need to be connected and how you can track, since you're using multiple different platforms to operate, not one shop for everything. Mm-hmm. So being able to tie it all together and audit correctly.
Yeah, absolutely. And then what kind of content to post and those kinds of things, and whatever the, minute details are for each of them. But
yeah, I think last week we were getting some good feedback on your content around Amazon. Mm-hmm. I still have a few questions that I didn't get to for you. I wanted you to explain and go in a little bit more detail for optimizing the product pages, and maybe explain the buy box and how Amazon determines who gets the buy box.
Sure. I
kind of threw that at you as a curveball.
I'm going to just...
So you may want to screen share. Yeah. So I may give you a second here. Mm-hmm. While you're doing that, what are some of the KPIs that you really want to kind of emphasize? You don't have to dive deep into this because you're setting it up, but maybe talk about some of the KPIs that I hear you talk about all the time, and they make me hungry.
We definitely have a little bit of different lingo on Amazon, but it is a lot of the basics. Ordered product sales means revenue, and sales just as we know it. Traffic sessions are kind of the same. So it's all the regular KPIs that you'd want to keep tracking for whatever online business you have. So how many people are visiting your product listings, how many people are purchasing, what the conversion rate would be from that. Those are just some of the top line kind of metrics. And then for advertising, what's the ROI? What's your return on investment? What's your spend versus your sales look like? There's a few different ways to measure those. And then also just add specific metrics related to conversion rates, traffic, and things of that nature. So I think that's a good segue into a product listing. I will go ahead and share my screen. I'm just going to pick some kind of a random product that I see. I'm going to click leave stage. Let me make sure I click the right button here. I think you should be able to see my screen. That's a really cute graphic of SpongeBob. Okay, let's pick just anything. This is riveting today. We'll do technology. Oh, this is a really interesting thing. Let me make sure Do Not Disturb is on, because that was quite loud. Okay. So when you go onto a product listing, Justin mentioned he had a couple questions about the buy box. The buy box is located over here. It's most literally the box where you go to buy things. Regular consumers who don't work with Amazon every day might not notice a couple of the nuances with the buy box, but something I'm trained to look at is who it's sold and shipped by. This product says sold and shipped by Amazon.com. This means that they are using a vendor account for this product. This is an Amazon product, I believe. Fire TV stick, it has Alexa, so maybe not. But
yes, it is. That Fire stick is Amazon?
So this would make sense. They're selling at vendor, which means it's wholesale. So it's not through Seller Central. It's not, some kind of a retailer selling on their own accord. It's going via bulk. Amazon's purchasing it from themselves, I guess, in this case. But the buy box is an indicator to see if there's multiple people selling one product. Whoever wins the buy box means if you just go right over here and click add to cart or buy now, who is getting the sale for this? There's a bunch of different sellers for these. More than likely, this product in specific, being an Amazon, is not going to have multiple sellers. But this is another way to compete. You've got to win the buy box in order to get these sales, because more often than not, consumers don't know that they can choose what vendor they want to purchase from. Whatever has the cheapest price, and the best in-stock rate, but really truthfully, the cheapest price is what wins the buy box. It has more factors than that, but shipping time and price are the two main drivers of who Amazon chooses to win the buy box. So there's definitely some, tips and tricks of the trade to win the buy box. But that's kind of a brief overview.
So you do have a Amazon listing here on Amazon. So maybe look at some of the key features of this listing and talk about how they are most optimized for their platform.
Yeah, there's a couple of tools you can use just kind of as a cheat sheet and reference for some of the metrics. I'll go over some of the things to keep in mind when optimizing an Amazon listing. But first and foremost, let's kind of go into why you want to have an optimized listing. Earlier, we mentioned a few of the metrics like traffic, how many people are finding your page, how many people are clicking on it. If you have an optimized page, it's going to be more visually appealing, but it's also going to show up in more places. So if you have an optimized title with certain keywords, those are going to become relatable to your product, and Amazon will position you well on search pages. So it really is important for overall performance and sales to have an optimized listing, not only visually, but contextually with, SEO and keywords and things of that nature. Now, let's go into how you can optimize your listing and, what to really look for. First and foremost, I think loud and proud on here are the images. This is really an interesting situation here because Amazon's breaking its cardinal rule. This is the main image currently for this product. However, all of us, who sell on Amazon, we know that you have to have your product on a plain white image, or else your listing will get flagged. So I'm not entirely sure how they're getting away with this. Obviously, they make the rules, so there's probably a little bit of favoritism here. But you're supposed to have a great, quality photo of your product here on a blank kind of white background. So that's what their second image looks like, but that's definitely most important. Other than that, a little more like top level for images, you want to use as many as you have possible. If you need to make some graphics like this one in order to kind of fill more information on the slides and get more assets together for your product listings, that can be just fine, but you can use up to 7 images, and then you can add video as well. So you want to use as much of that as you can. It's prime real estate. No pun intended, I guess, prime. But, clear quality images. If you want to throw some bullet point information on there, that's great. How-tos are great. Lifestyle images, what the product actually looks like in use, are fantastic as well. The biggest thing to mention with images is that if someone is shopping on mobile, the bullet points are not listed towards the top of the page. And so what they'll see first and primarily is the images. So if you can throw some information on there like these pages have, it's definitely a best practice.
So it's important to have the information on the images because that affects user experience, but it's also important to have all of the back end listing information set up correctly. So that way Amazon can put you in the right place at the right time for your great images to be acted upon.
Right. And for that reason, it feels like some of the data can be, or some of the information on a listing can be repeated and just really repetitive. And that's true. I mean, a lot of it's keyword stuffing kind of tactics. You want to stay away from that. But if it's the most important information, the key product feature, you'll see something about it in the images, in the bullet points, the title, and then down on the A+ content, just because the customer, one way or another, we're hoping will see this kind of information. So we've talked a little bit about the images. Next is the title. I think there's a lot of mixed reviews and mixed opinions on how to format your title. You have up to 200 characters to use in your title. Some agencies recommend you use less characters. Some recommend that you use more. I kind of prefer to do A/B testing, which is a feature on Amazon. If you don't have access to A/B testing as a feature, just go ahead and try a few things. I think the most important thing with SEO on and off of Amazon is to remember that it's not forever, right? So you have to keep checking and keep doing keyword research and updating and seeing what's the best set of keywords for your listings, whether that's the title or the bullet points or any of the other content, also on Amazon and off of Amazon. So, play around with different links, play around with different keywords. If you're, trying to find a product like this, you can type in the search bar for the first few words in there. So like, let's see, there's ick. For example, this is a great place to get some recommendations for keywords. If you want to throw a few of these in there, because others who are searching for this product, Amazon's going to recommend the same things. So if these are really clickable, you want to pop up for stuff like this. And we'll go into more detail in a different chat, I'm sure, about keyword research, but that's a little bit more about some keywords that apply to titles and bullet points. I can keep going, I think, all day for this. One last thing that I'll mention here, just because I'm not sure how much visibility is given with this. Right here, you see different options of products to select all on the same page. These are called variations. If you're an Amazon seller, variations can be a little bit intimidating and a little bit confusing, but they definitely have a lot of benefits. Technically speaking, one main point that we haven't covered yet on the listing for optimization is your reviews and ratings. When you do create a variation, there's a possibility that you can combine the reviews for all of the products on the listing. So that's definitely something that makes, variations really, really attractive. Amazon doesn't always combine reviews though. So there's a bunch of different ways to, create the variation and try to get this to work on your, for your benefit. But that's one, additional way to really boost the quality of a listing is to see how many ratings and reviews you can get. So we spoke about buy box, talked a little bit about, how to optimize your images, how to optimize keywords and different, sections on the listing. And then we also talked about the importance of reviews and ratings.
Great. I think there's a lot of good information there. Look forward to clipping that and using that elsewhere for everybody to get some value out of it. There's a lot of good information there.
Yeah, I appreciate the question. I can go in more detail. So, I always like to say on these sessions, if you've got more questions, if you want more of an overview, definitely contact us afterwards. We're more than happy to go into more detail. We're trying to create more content on all the platforms so that we can get this information out at deeper, levels and more intimate settings. So hopefully we'll get some stuff on YouTube soon, just to give more of an overview of the same topics.
Good. Well, it looks like most of the list that we have in here is for stuff for you to ask me. So why don't we flip the table around and have you ask me a question somewhere on the list here, or I can ask myself.
Yeah, I think the only question we got to last week before we dove into the Amazon listings was about how to make posts more engaging, but I have a couple more, I think, to the same tune for you to answer. So question number 1 for you today, how to find and create your company's most authentic voice. So we're marketers, and this is just, how do you find and create the most authentic voice for your clients?
Yeah, when you think about the products, if you've already have established products and services, then you want to think about more than just the features. You want to think about the problems that they solve. You want to think about the emotions that are connected to the goods and services that you provide. You want to think about what benefit carries on beyond that exact moment of when that service is created. So if you're a plumber, for example, yeah, you do all of the normal plumbing things. You set you come in when you're building a house and you put everything in that you got to do. And then when there's a major issue, you show up and you fix things. But what you really do is you handle some major issue that happens and you give peace of mind to your customer. You really go above and beyond and build a trusting relationship with them. And now they know that they're able to call and lean on you for things of that nature. So you got to think about what emotion is pulled from your goods and services, and start to build a voice around that. And who most what I like to do what I like about working with small businesses is that generally it's somebody who's passionate about what they do, and they have their own identity in the work that they perform and the quality that comes from it. So let that speak, and be okay with taking a chance and risking a little bit of unfamiliarity on the platforms, and just start participating, and capturing your voice. If you are a small business owner that is doing everything, using some of the tools that we mentioned earlier to make the system and take less time and be more efficient and optimized, and then just start posting and start speaking to who you serve and why you serve them and how you serve them better than anybody else.
I think that's a great answer, and something I want to highlight too that I know that the both of us really focus on. Um, it's easier to make and post frequent content when you know what your business is all about. So you really have to define, the vision and the mission statement for your business, and think about who you really want to be as a business and what you stand for. And once you have some of these things defined, they can become much more tangible to keep track of. They can translate into color schemes and fonts and
Mm-hmm.
all of that, which make the actual posting of on platforms much easier. But it definitely stems from originally creating a vision and a mission statement, and figuring out exactly what you want to do and what who you want to serve as a business.
Yeah, and then just getting out there and serving them the best that you can, and learning as you go, especially for those who are startup oriented. And um, that's one of the major things that we're starting to do now is document over create. We're trying to set up these sort of scenarios like today, where we spend 30 minutes asking each other's questions, and from here we can pull multiple pieces of content. And we can also take the questions that are being answered, and we can throw them into a blog post. I can take the voice recording from this session and turn it into script pretty easily and affordably. And that can end up being SEO content for my site. It can end up being social posts. So it's finding your voice, finding your medium that you actively and actually want to be a part of, and running with it.
Yeah, and then realizing that everything is content. I think there's a funny trend going on TikTok and Instagram right now, Instagram Reels, where it's just a voiceover of someone saying, remind yourself that everything is content. And if you look at, those who have tons and tons of
Oh, I
followers
think we
on,
lost you.
what's that?
Hello?
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you. I can hear you.
I was just to recap, and I don't want to repeat myself if it did catch it. If not, I was just saying that everything is content. So once you've got your voice kind of established, just reminding yourself that every single thing is an opportunity for content. And I think, what you were explaining earlier, Justin, about documenting versus creating. I'm not sure exactly how you said it, but documenting can be a great tool, just because every single thing you do can teach somebody something, more than likely. Those cool conversations you have, those cool meetings you have, where a lot of learning points come out of them, and you wish you had them caught on film. Just remind yourself that everything is content, and an opportunity to reach out to your target market and to your followers. So once you've got your voice and your vision defined, you can kind of play around with it and get creative to see how you can connect with your followers.
Yeah, I think that that's a good point to wrap up on, is to be active and find every opportunity you can to try something new in your marketing, and figure out how it can be implemented into your day-to-day routine. And if it can't, then push it out. If it's not working, then revisit it and try to figure out the best way to apply that. So yeah, we've got a couple more questions that came in here. We're going to save those and we'll bring them up next week. It looks like some are still about Amazon, and then we have one here about the relationship between Google paid per click and how Amazon's ads work too. So we'll look forward to getting into that next week.
Great. It was nice to chat with you and to kind of get all the questions in from our viewers. So thanks so much, guys. Happy Tuesday.
Guys, have a good rest of your day. Talk soon. Bye-bye for now.
Bye.